Hi folks, welcome to episode 2 of the Raw Sports Experience. My name is Ross McMillan. I'm really grateful that you're here. So we did this last week, and we're back. This is exciting. Keeping up with something is fun. We're trying to improve week over week. So something that we're going to do this week that we didn't do last week in the introduction is that I'm going to open up by telling you what's going to be on this episode. So for anybody that missed last week, this is a pyramid structure. We have 3 big things, 2 wee things, and 1 next thing. So the thing that's coming up in the next week. This week for the big things, we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders and the potential that he starts on the Browns. We're going to talk about Hangman Adam Page becoming the number 1 contender for the World Championship in All Elite Wrestling. And we're also going to talk about last night's Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Pacers and the Knicks and what that means for the future. Our wee things this week, Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, what the best option for the Steelers is going into 2025, and additionally, going back to the wrestling topic, anarchy in the arena and my thoughts about subverting a wrestling genre. The next thing is, in fact, we'll get to the next thing. You don't need to know the next thing yet. That's what you're staying the entire episode for. Don't scrub through, I'm watching. Anyway, I'm really excited. I went to Tyler the Creator's gig on Friday. That's why I've got the hoodie on. And there's merchandise on the wall. We're moving the wall around. I've had a fantastic weekend though. I hope you had a great weekend. Part of that great weekend was the incredible basketball game that I watched last night. I stayed all the way up to like 3:30 in the morning for. It was totally worth it. I'm excited to get into it. I'm so glad you're here. Let's stop wasting time and get into the first big thing. So the first big thing is Shedeur Sanders. For anybody who doesn't know the backstory, Shedeur's dad Dion is very famous in the NFL. He's one of the best football players of all time. He's also been Shedeur's coach. He was his coach in high school. He was his coach in his first college that he went to. And then when Dion got offered the Colorado job for the Buffaloes, Shedeur transferred to still play under his dad. Shedeur is very accurate, and going into the combine, or at least a little bit before the combine, when we knew that the first pick was the Titans and the Titans needed a quarterback, the conversation was, did they take Cam Ward, who they do take, or did they take Shedeur Sanders? It was this like 50-50, we'll see. The Titans come out and say, hey listen, we like Cam Ward more. That's the kind of offense we want to run. You know, Shedeur is accurate, Cam is quick. We're just going to take Cam Ward. It's like, great. Then he went from, okay, well, he's second to, okay, there's better defenders. Like, there's generational defenders in this draft. So you take Abdul, you take Travis, fine. 4, Patriots don't need someone. Will someone trade up? The demand isn't really there right now. What about the Saints at 9? They pass. What about the Steelers at 21? They pass. It became fantastic television because Shedeur Sanders slips to the 5th. Going back to the Combine, Shedeur decided not to participate in any of the Combine events. And I always have an issue with this. Listen, if they get hurt at the Combine, which is an event that they are opting into voluntarily to doing, if they get hurt, they are going to tank their stock. So see if you know for a fact, like Cam Ward doesn't participate. He knows for a fact going into the Combine, he is the number 1 pick. Doing the Combine does nothing for him. But Shedeur Sanders, if anybody was telling him, rock solid, you are a top 5 guy, they were misinformed. And if he's not a top 5 guy, but he wants to be, the Combine is a chance to push him up. Additionally, people at the time were talking about Shedeur doing an Eli, which, if anybody doesn't know, Eli Manning and his father, they opted out of playing for the Chargers. So the Chargers drafted Eli Manning on draft night, and Eli told them, I'm not playing for you. And on draft night, he was traded to the Giants, which is where he wanted to go. People were questioning if Tennessee tried to take Shedeur, would he do that because he doesn't want to play in Tennessee? Would he do that for Cleveland because he doesn't want to play in Cleveland? Etc, etc. I'm not saying that any of that's true. I'm just saying that was the conversations that were happening. So, Shedeur doesn't do the Combine. He tanks by all accounts, is bad deliberately in interviews for teams he doesn't want to play for. And he ends up falling to the 5th round. So how much did that decision cost him? Well, Cam Ward's contract for 4 years is $48.8 million. That was what the cost of our number 1 pick was in this year's draft. Shedeur falls to the 5th round. I believe he was taken 144th. He is earning $4.6 million over the next 4 years. So a big difference. But my hot take is that despite the fact that the Cleveland Browns, who took Shedeur, took a quarterback ahead of him in this draft, they drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd, despite the fact that they have veteran Joe Flacco, who played for them a couple of years ago and was pretty good, and Kenny Pickett, who has been around the block and it probably has more definitely has more track experience than Shedeur at the NFL level. My hot take is that the Browns should start Shedeur Sanders week 1. It's a lot harder to put the genie back in the bottle if you go all the way to a rookie. But my hot take today is that the Browns are going to be bad anyway. They play in a tough division. They are definitely the worst of the 4. And they're not going to be good with any of these guys. I'm sorry, Joe or Kenny or Dylan, if you're watching and you think that you would give them a good chance to win. But ultimately, I don't think they're going to win with any of these guys. But at least with Shedeur Sanders, I will watch. I am definitely not going to watch the Browns week 1 if Joe Flacco is the quarterback. If Kenny Pickett is the quarterback, that sounds like a recipe for boredom. But if Shedeur Sanders is under center week 1, I will be watching. Case in point, the Jags have traded up in the draft. They have taken Travis Hunter. That has made them must-see. I am considering taking a second trip to London just to see Travis Hunter play with the Jags. And I'm going to go to the Browns game anyway. This is anecdotal. I'm going to go to the Browns game anyway because they are playing the Vikings. But even if they weren't, but I knew for a fact Shedeur was going to be there. Like, I went to see the Jags play in NFL London when Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. He wasn't incredible, but he was entertaining. Shedeur will be entertaining. I will be watching. Now, if I'm watching a car wreck, if I'm watching a train wreck, or if I'm watching the start of something good, either way, I'll be watching. And I think the Browns need all of that good publicity and all of that crowd excitement that they can get their hands on. For our first wee thing, I'm going to come out with another hot take, which is that the Steelers should trade for Kirk Cousins. For anybody who's unaware, the Steelers currently need a starting quarterback option. And despite the fact that Kirk Cousins is older and is coming off of an injury in his recent history, their other option is Aaron Rodgers, who is an older quarterback who is coming off of a recent injury history. They've been doing this dance for months now where Aaron Rodgers has not signed, but they keep nudge, winking that he's definitely going to come along. Aaron Rodgers is a few years removed from his MVP seasons. He was recovering from Achilles last year. I'm not going to say that didn't play some role, but he is also 40. The movement and mobility and elusiveness has dropped off, as has the deep ball accuracy, as has the consistency. I did watch a fair bit of Jets last year, and I did not like what I saw. Now, did I love what I saw from Kirk Cousins? No. That's why he got replaced by Michael Penix. Michael Penix was their first round pick. It was going to happen eventually. But Kirk now is sitting on the bench, dreaming of a time when he was the starter, hoping that he gets another chance. And I know you have to send them something to get him. And I know he'll probably cost more even if the Falcons cover some of that salary. But I just think that the seat for Tomlin is a little hotter than I think it has been in the past. And I think having Kirk Cousins is a better option under center than Aaron Rodgers. So that's what I'm hoping happens. That's my move here. That's the first wee thing, is let's get Kirk Cousins back under center in a starting team. Let's stop messing about with the Aaron Rodgers stuff. For our second thing, we're going to talk about pro wrestling because it's the thing I'm the most excited about this week. For anybody who knows vaguely about my love of pro wrestling, it's important to know that I have not watched prior to this Double or Nothing pay-per-view this week. I had been out on wrestling. I feel like what I did is I took a tolerance break and it really hit all at once on Sunday or on Monday when I did actually watch it. But no, I was totally out on pro wrestling for a little bit there, and this pay-per-view did a fantastic job of bringing me back in, and nothing more than the main event, which was Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page. They faced each other in the Owen Hart Cup final. The winner gets to be the number one contender, and he gets to fight Jon Moxley at All In Texas, their big stadium show. And I believe their first stadium show that they've ran in North America, because obviously they've done Wembley a couple of times, and I've been there, and it's been great. Prior to the video package, which by the way, Jon Moxley as a villain, I think his reign has had its ups and downs, but I have broadly enjoyed it, the bits that I have seen. And I think he has made himself a credible Thanos-esque, oh, we all need to come together to beat him type villain. You know, he's holding the belt hostage. He is this scary guy that no one can seem to knock off. It's great. It has to be Hangman or Will. I think they're my two favourite wrestlers right now. I think they are the two best babyface options in the company. They are the rightful two. Even though there are a lot of great main event, potential title holder kind of guys, I think it was going to be one of these two. I think they did a great job of building this. I think it's the best video package that AEW have made. Going into the show, I thought it was going to be Will. And I thought I wanted it to be Will. And by the end of the video package, when the entrances started, I was like, it needs to be Hangman. So Will, after his match with Kyle Fletcher, which was, prior to when I saw this, my favourite match of the year, Will said he's ready for the responsibilities. He's ready to be the guy. He wants to carry this company. He wants this to be his company. Brilliant. He wants it. Hangman has had this dip into being a heel. He has done reprehensible things. He burned Swerve Strickland's house, which was fantastic, but don't tell, like, we're not meant to like it. I guess we are meant to like it, but you know what I mean? It's the heel actions. He has now come round to being like, I didn't like who I was. I've wasted 2 years. Now I need this opportunity. I need to be the guy again. And I was like, I need you to be the guy again. For anybody not as acquainted with AEW, I think AEW works under this thing of like, wrestling is this big cast of characters, but in AEW specifically, Hangman Adam Page is the main character. So he was the first guy, he lost his challenge to Chris Jericho in the first pay-per-view, I believe. And Chris Jericho became the inaugural champion, and that started his first story, and then he worked his way back up and he became world champion. After being world champion, he drops back down again, and now he's built himself back up again. And it's like, yeah, he is the main character, and the show is better when he is on top. I thought the match was spectacular. I thought they told such a fantastic story within it, where Hangman is this, he's a stronger striker. Will is faster. Will has more tricks up his sleeve. But every single time Hangman knocked him down, I felt like he lost a bit of the special bar. And suddenly, he wasn't able to just hit everything he wanted all the time, which is great. That's great storytelling. Additionally, Will's wanting to be the guy. He's playing up to the crowd. He's dancing about. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's showing off. Hangman needs to be the guy. He can't afford to waste time. He's not playing for the crowd. He's not doing any of that. Hangman's character being someone that struggled to stay controlled, he manages to stay controlled in this match. And it's Will that loses control. And it's Will that does some heel things in this match. Ultimately, they have their great shootout moment where Will has the hidden blade ready and Hangman's ready for the buckshot. Someone's going to hit it. Hangman hits it. There was great spots in this as well where AJ's calling back to AJ's calling back. Will's calling back to AJ Styles. Hangman's calling back to Christopher Daniels, who he retired. And Will starts to do Kenny stuff, and Hangman starts to do Swerve stuff, and ultimately Hangman is your number one contender. Hangman wins the Owen. It's fantastic. He picks Will back up. The last part of this is that this week on Dynamite, Hangman is confronted by Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland says, I will never stand beside you. I will never help you win. Will Ospreay comes down and they have this 3-person standoff. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what they copied. I'm sure it's happened in other films, but to me, it felt like the scene in the Avengers where the 3 characters, Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, they're all standing, and it's this oh my god, holy shit moment. And ultimately, you're going to have a point where they all come together. But that's not yet. That's not now. Now we need to see them go their separate ways, and then something will unite them again. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's phenomenal. Truthfully, I had an absolute blast watching Double or Nothing. I'm really, really glad to be back in on wrestling, and I thought everybody involved in this did a phenomenal job. For our second wee thing, we're sticking with wrestling, because Double or Nothing was just really, really good. We got Anarchy in the arena as part of Double or Nothing, and it has also made my top 10 matches of the year. It is lower down on the top 10, but to make a top 10 as a sort of a gimmicky, loads of people involved match, usually I don't include stuff like that. So it's pretty monumental, and this match really did feel something special. For anybody that doesn't know, Anarchy in the arena is this sort of big, everybody goes their separate ways, and there's a bunch of different cuts, and it's just a bunch of great people doing spot, then you cut somewhere else, spot, then you cut somewhere else, spot. And it doesn't just feel like you're being, like, the same guys are just overloading, because you are cutting around, and it's like, oh, this guy's involved, now this guy's involved, now this guy's involved. Oh, now guy A went to space B and fought guy B. You can move pieces around so that it's always fun. It's always exciting. There's always something to cut to. It starts with this sort of picture-in-picture 4 screens thing, and they do a fantastic bit with the Drowning Pool song Bodies, where they play Bodies. I thought it was fantastic. So this year's Double or Nothing, usually it's 4v4. It's been 5v5 in the past, but it's been 4v4 the last couple of years. This year's 6 versus 6 and intergender. So the good guy team of Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Willow Nightingale, and the Ops, Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobbs, fought the Death Riders of Moxley, Claudio, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, and the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas. And I just thought it was absolutely incredible. They did great exploding table spots. They did with the Bucks and Kenny Omega. Kenny's on the top rope, and they do the sort of like front flip bounce into a powerbomb through the table thing. Just insane. Kenny Omega jumped off of the sort of stands down into a group, and again, it's like you see that, you go, oh my god, that's incredible, and then it's an immediate cut to something else. You're like, oh my god, whoa! Immediate cut to, oh my god, whoa. They do another great staple spot, which is great. They did that in Blood and Guts last year. It has become this sort of, it's a staple of Swerve Strickland in these matches. But not a gimmicked staple. So Marine Shafir staples Swerve Strickland through the tongue, and at the end of the match he goes, and you can see the tongue on it, you can see the staple through his tongue. Just a complete like catastrophe in the best, in like a good sense, that everything's going crazy, everyone's everywhere. I was completely blown away by it. I think it's so much fun. It's such a great deconstruction of what wrestling is and what the status quo says it has to be. That you get all of this stuff, and it's just it's a different way to present what is essentially just, a pro wrestling is quite cut and dry. I think it does so much good stuff moving the stories along that are going on right now, and I really do feel like it is another thing. So AEW have this, they have the Casino Gauntlet, they are creating all of these great special attraction things that feel completely unique to anything else you can see in wrestling. That it really did feel like something special was happening. And it's just another step in AEW regaining momentum and getting that feeling back. I just really liked it, and I wanted to give it its flowers on this podcast. And if you're going to check out anything from that show, I mean, I would check out Will and Ospreay. I would check out Hangman and Ospreay, but I would also check this out because I can guarantee you'll have fun watching it. It was special. For our last big thing, the biggest thing that we're going to cover on this podcast, I stayed up last night for Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So last week we ended by saying that I was really excited to see who made the finals, and I said in that video that I was hoping we would know by this week, by this podcast. And if the Knicks won last night, we would not have known. We would have gone to Game 7 in the Garden. I would have said advantage would have gone back to Knicks if they had made it through last night. But that's not what happened. So last night, the Knicks lost to the Pacers in Indiana. I'm going to tell you what the score was. Pacers won 125-108, and it felt like a 125-108 game by the end. The big performances last night, Pascal Siakam went absolutely ballistic in the third and scored 31 points. Tyrese went absolutely ballistic in the fourth, 21 points, 13 rebounds. My guy Obi Toppin went for 18 points and was a complete contributor in this game. I also think there were so many amazing Andrew Nembhard plays. But listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The story of last night and the story of the Pacers winning this and getting to go to the finals, which I'm very excited about that, but we'll get to there. It was a team effort last night, more than it was any one individual player. And what do I mean by that? They were playing full court press defense. For anybody that doesn't know, when you play defense, you have the option of going full court press or half court set. So imagine your team's just scored a basket. Great. You can go back to your own half and get set, right? Imagine you know your position. You can see your guy that you're going to defend coming up. Or if you're playing a zone defense, you know your spot in the zone that you're going to fill, right? So your team scores. Great. Let's get back on defense. Great. Go all the way back. Full court press, which is so much more work, so much more tiring, but obviously so much more intense if you can do it correctly. Full court is your team scores, find your guy, stay up in their half, really flood them out. Instead of him just getting to, take a leisurely dribble up the floor to the half court and then set up for their play, suddenly, bang, I'm in your face. You want to go this way. Look, I'm over here. So you are weighting them down. You are getting them to waste energy just getting the ball up the floor, using more of the shot clock to just get into the position where they want to be. The Pacers played like that for most of the plays of last night, from the first all the way to the fourth. And they absolutely strangled the life out of the Knicks. It was phenomenal basketball to watch. And it started really early. This idea of the Knicks then started playing very intense defense to the Pacers to try and keep pace. So you had this back and forth, really intense series, and I was completely blown away by the Pacers because as soon as the Knicks would make or miss a basket, catch the ball, fire it down the floor, or get it into the inbound the ball, chuck it. Everything was go, go, go. The amount of buckets, and Pascal Siakam was absolutely stunning at this last night. Immediately off of every miss or every make, they were gunning it down the floor. The amount of buckets that they got from fast break turnovers was incredible. I think I saw a stat at one point where it was the Pacers had 20-something points off of turnovers. And despite the fact that at that time the Knicks had as many turnovers, or I think even just a little bit more, They had only scored 4 points because the Pacers were so used to moving quickly. If we lose the ball, quickly get back on defense. And if we steal the ball, gun it down the floor, get quick, fast buckets, easy buckets. I was totally enamored by that game. I couldn't believe how intense they had managed to keep it. And then we saw it in the third quarter. The Knicks ran out of steam. That's what I saw. I saw that the Pacers were a team used to playing this fast pace more than the Knicks were. They were used to pushing the tempo. They were used to having this full court press defense more than the Knicks were. And I saw points in this game where I was like, the Pacers can keep going here. The Knicks can't. Pascal Siakam went nuclear in the third, hitting big threes, going to the basket. It was fantastic. And I really did feel like, despite the fact that the Knicks had a couple of games in the series, the Pacers were the better team, and they showed it last night. I was in love with the game last night, and I cannot wait for the finals. But we're going to talk about that in our next one coming up here. And yes, folks, to close it out, the next one is the finals. So, Pacers OKC, can't wait. The Oklahoma City Thunder made it through against the Timberwolves from the point where I was like locked in this week. That series was basically over. I don't have anything to add except from the fact that they look incredible. That's what we're talking about here, is that the theory that it didn't really matter who made it through the Eastern Conference Finals. You are going into a buzzsaw that is the Oklahoma City Thunder because they are so deep and they are so talented. And I think the interesting thing here is going to be, we might have touched on this in last week when we were weighing up the potential options, is that the Oklahoma City Thunder defense thrives on creating turnovers for teams that don't turn the ball over. The Pacers don't turn the ball over. And I think you have this, it really does feel like unstoppable force, immovable object, that the Thunder defense is generationally good at creating turnovers, at forcing you to make sloppy mistakes. And here's a Pacers team that go as quick as anybody in the league, that push the pace, that are throwing these crazy passes down the field, that it's like, are they going to be faster than the Thunder defense is good? Or are the Thunder defense going to capitalize on all of these plays and make them pay for every single one of these decisions? I can't wait to see Shea versus Tyrese Halliburton. I can't wait to see this fantastic Pacers team play this unbelievable, generationally good Thunder team. I think it's going to be a fantastic series, and I hope that I am creating excitement for you guys to see it as much as I am excited to see it. Folks, listen, that's another one done. We're 2 episodes down. I've had fun. We have redecorated the set a little bit. You can see that I've still got some blank space, but that just means that I've got more to add, which is very exciting. I really hope you've had a nice time. I hope that you've enjoyed being here with me, because I've enjoyed making it. If you have any thoughts, like last week, if you have any thoughts on any of the subjects that we've covered, please leave a comment. That's not engagement baiting, that's not trying to play the algorithm. I actually just do care about what you think about what we've covered. But yeah, listen, I'm happy with this one. I've been Ross. Thank you for joining the Ross Sports Experience. I hope you have a nice day. Hope you have a nice week. I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much. See you later.